This is Tutor Nick P, and this is Idioms 99. The idiom today is cut the umbilical cord, or, of course, umbilical is in parentheses because, of course, sometimes it could be omitted. So sometimes you could just say cut the cord. Okay, good. So let's look at the first note here. This idiom expresses the idea that some adults need to stop relying on their parents for support, help, money, etc. Yeah, you heard this phrase a lot. Somebody has to cut the umbilical cord. All right, this is the way we might hear it these days. Let's look at example number one. Nowadays, there are many young people who are still living with their parents well into their 30s and 40s. So they never move out, or they never seem to move out. This stagnant economy has made it difficult for many young adults to cut the umbilical cord. Yeah, stagnant economy means like it's really kind of going nowhere. Not that it's really, really terrible, but that it's not improving, it's not getting better. A lot of people have said that ever since 2008, we had a few years that looked a little better, but mostly it's been a stagnant economy. If you actually factored in inflation, you would say that it's actually going down. So, I should say factored inflation correctly, because usually the government's numbers on inflation are usually not really correct. But anyway, you do see it in real life. A decade, 2 decades, 3 decades ago, a lot of young people, at 18, 19, very young, they often moved out of the house. Not now. Nowadays, you got young kids still living there till 30s, 40s. They're never really moving out. So in that sense, we would say to cut the umbilical cord. They're still relying on their parents, even for financial support. Okay, let's take a look at example number two. Jack is a real mama's boy. Yeah, that's kind of a phrase in itself. This is kind of a guy that is maybe his mother controls him too much, and he's afraid to do anything without his mother's permission, or he's, well, no, my mama said I can't do that, blah, 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 something like that. We used to hear this term a little bit more years ago. Jack is a real mama's boy. He will never be able to cut the umbilical cord. Yeah, especially if they did that, that's what they'd often say. Remember, the umbilical cord, that is the actual cord, when a baby is still in the woman's abdomen, that's the cord where the food goes through. Just so you realize that's the actual umbilical cord. So of course of course the embryo and the fetus absolutely has to depend on the umbilical cord. They need it. That's their nutrition from the mother. So of course that's what we mean by the umbilical cord. So when a baby is born, of course the umbilical cord gets cut. But in this sense, we say cut the umbilical cord means that young people are able to survive on their own, live on their own, support themselves without the parents. So that's what we mean by to cut the umbilical cord. Okay, I hope you got it. I hope it was informative. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.